Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, I'm Charlene Schmidt.
I'm Patrick Schmidt.
We just watched The Long Dark, episode 5 of season 2 of Babylon 5. It's time to babble for 5. Do we want to talk about scary monsters or post-traumatic stress disorder first?
Oh, let's dive right into post-traumatic stress.
Let's do this. Okay, so you don't know who Dwight Schultz is, but he is well known in the Star Trek community for playing a couple of roles, and he plays Amos. He's playing a guy who at first just seems like he needs to see a psychiatrist, but turns out he's got some serious trauma going from the Earth-Minbari War, and Garibaldi is the person who steps up and can relate to this because he himself was a ground pounder. What did you think about these two? Do you like how Garibaldi handled the situation?
I mean, I think he did the best he could with it, and ultimately it worked.
Yeah.
But the bigger thing I took away from that was just that he understands the language, he understands the trauma, he's been through it, and he's on the other side, and I think he's on the other side more than most people are in that situation. And I know we see him struggle in this series, but this was a nice little perspective of this is how bad it could be. So when we see him go over the top, it makes him a little bit more empathetic. It's like, oh, okay,
sure,
he has been through some things, and a whole lot of other people have too. And I think maybe that's kind of the tip of the iceberg that we're touching on here, is that because of this war, there are a lot of people who are very, very PTSD.
And sadly, maybe the mental health world has not improved that much more in the future, because Garibaldi says, hey, I know counselors, I go see them myself, I highly recommend them, but this is not something that we've really seemed to have grasped control of.
Right.
You mean it's not mandatory? People aren't just there to help these folks out? Have we not learned anything? Now, yes, this show aired in the 90s, I get it, but it's not as forward-thinking as Straczynski usually is. That's my point.
Is it any surprise, though, that we haven't seen progress in the mental health community when we haven't seen progress in medicine, Franklin?
Okay, let's get into this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I put down 3 words in my notes. They're in all caps. It's, no, Stephen, no! Okay, I can't with this, Stephen, no. Now, we've seen him get overly involved with patients before.
Yes, we have.
But this is really, really crossing a line. He even acknowledges it after the fact. Stephen, no.
Disgusting. Anytime anyone shows the slightest interest in him, he's over the top. And he doesn't know what to do. He is very awkward in those situations, which is weird because he's not in other situations. But anything sexual, he just doesn't know how to handle it.
I think that reveals something fairly profound about Franklin, is that maybe he's not had a whole lot of intimacy. He's probably not had many relationships, because he's saying, even in this episode, work always comes first.
I think maybe that's part of it, is that he's just not good with intimacy, period.
Maybe.
And at the same time, it gives him a creepiness factor that I think is maybe not fair.
Or I think there's some very good reasons why doctors have a disconnect with their patients. This can lead to a lot of problems. People lose their licenses for this kind of thing.
Yeah, and here he is leading the med lab on Babylon 5. Who else applied for that job and got rejected? How bad were they?
Makes you wonder, right?
Seriously.
I want to jump to a side note, a very small thing, but I think an important thing that might get you a little fired up, and that is our little history lesson in jump gate technology.
Hey, that was cool.
You liked it?
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And now I understand a little bit better why it's so messed up.
Oh, do tell.
They developed it in a hurry, and so they really didn't think about the implications.
So my final thought on this one is, at the very end, Jakar's going through his ancient book, and we see what you call the Demigorgon.
Yes.
Honestly, I think it's a little more of like a demented seahorse in that one. But,
Yes.
what do you see in the Rorschach ancient scroll photo?
If you've ever been to the American Southwest and you've seen Kokopelli,
I don't know what that is.
The Native American flute player.
Oh.
Go ahead and put the graphic up on the screen now of Kokopelli.
Ding!
Right. Demented Kokopelli.
Okay, so we're in agreement that this is demented.
We've been hearing all season about the coming darkness.
Right. Just a reminder, this is like the one thing that ties into everything else that's going on in this whole episode.
Exactly. And so it was nice that we were able to kind of develop that a little bit, because before it's just been this scary blob out in space. Well, now we know that there are pieces that can come off of it and can act independently. That's really cool. And
very scary.
And well, scary, yeah, but cool for the story. And one more thought.
Yeah.
And that we're now 5 episodes into season 2. We have not seen Sinclair.
Nope.
I don't think he's coming back, and I'm pissed.
Well, on that lighthearted note, let's end the show.
So now that the show is over, you know what to do. You should be clicking the subscribe button and clicking the bell to get the notifications when these come out every Wednesday and every Sunday.
Yeah, and thumbs up.
And you should also be checking out all the other cool stuff that the Nerd Party's doing. Go to thenerdparty.com and check out all that fun stuff. And of course, follow up with us every Wednesday and every Sunday for new Babbles.
Yes, and if you leave a comment, we'd love you to do that. Just make sure you don't spoil anything from this episode going forward. Thanks!
Thanks.